Guys, the Golden State Warriors are the 5th seed in the Western Conference because after back-to-back wins against the Memphis Grizzlies and the Los Angeles Lakers, they have now jumped from 25 and 26 before Jimmy Butler was a Warrior to a record of 45 and 31. In other words, 20 and 6 over the last 26 games, and 20 and 2 when both Jimmy and Steph play. And these last 2 games just shows you why this team is a championship contender, because in back-to-back games against 2 of the top teams in the West on the road, the Dubs pulled out back-to-back victories. And after a masterclass from Steph Curry against Memphis, well, it was another masterclass from Steph Curry against the Lakers, but he also had some help from Steph Curry 2.0, who took over in the first half against the Lakers.
The other way, 2 seconds, Podziemski, why not? Off the glass!
Okay, Pods might not be Steph Curry 2.0, but right now is the opportunity for everyone and anyone to apologize. Because I know there are a lot of people calling this man a bum, a terrible player, the worst player in the NBA, I heard people say. Well, the worst player in the NBA just cooked Luka Doncic, LeBron James, and Austin Reeves. And we all know who the best white guard between these 2 teams is. But on a serious note, Brandon Podziemski has not just been solid since his return from injury a few weeks ago, he's been flat out incredible. Because since returning from injury, Pods is averaging over 17 points, just under 6 boards and 3 assists per game in his last 8 games. And he's been playing well over most of the season after a slow start, but recently, he's just gone to a different level. And you guys want to know a huge reason for that? It's the addition of this guy, Jimmy Butler. Having the addition of Jimmy Butler alongside Steph Curry and their combined playmaking, gravity, and scoring has just made the lives of Brandon Podziemski, Moses Moody, Quentin Post, all of the role players' lives so much easier, because now all of a sudden, instead of trying to create for themselves in ways that they're not quite able to do right now, they can feed off the gravity of Steph Curry or Jimmy Butler. Just take a play like this with Jimmy on the post-up. Just watch the patience from Jimmy. He knows Pods' man is going to help over, so he just waits until the right moment before finding him open at the top of the key, and that's money. And again this time from Jimmy. Again, it's the patience, waiting until Castle helps off, and then finding Pods for 3. And I think a lot of people will sometimes use this against players like Podziemski or Moody, that they need star players to help them thrive, but that's not a bad thing. To be a championship level team, you need a balance. You look at teams like Phoenix, who thought they could just get away with having 3 guys who can get you a bucket. Well, look at the supporting cast. And those 3 guys aren't great at elevating their supporting cast, but having 2 guys who can elevate the players around them, and then having a supporting cast that is deep and willing to play with those 2 guys, all of a sudden, you see a team like the Warriors. A team that is now 13-0 with this current starting lineup. Yes, you heard me. The starting lineup of Steph Curry, Brandon Podziemski, Moses Moody, Jimmy Butler, and Draymond Green is 13-0, because you have 4 guys all capable of scoring and putting the ball on the floor to create. And then you have Draymond Green, who can give you a bit of everything on offense, mixed in with the obvious greatness he provides on defense. And that's a good segue, because the defense of this Warriors team is championship level. Draymond Green, Jimmy Butler, need I say any more? 2 guys who might not be in their athletic primes, but 2 guys who have been all defense players for a reason, and even at their ages, they're smart enough, they're quick enough, and they're strong enough to consistently make defensive plays. Just watch here with Jimmy initially guarding LeBron. Dre then switches onto LeBron, who passes it to Hayes, and then Jimmy is there to guard Hayes in the post, forcing a miss. It's nice having 2 guys that can switch between LeBron James and a 7-foot center in the same possession, and could easily do the same if the play involved Austin Reeves or Luka Doncic instead of Jackson Hayes. That's their versatility, and it's this versatility plus the intelligence which has turned the Dubs defense into one of the best in the league. And just speaking of Draymond, it was another masterclass, particularly in the last couple of minutes of the game. Watch here as Luka kicks the pass to LeBron. Draymond gets out there to prevent the 3, and watch the physicality from Dre on the drive, taking the bump and going straight up, forcing LeBron to force a pass that resulted in a turnover. That is Draymond Green. And then finally, with 40 seconds remaining and the Lakers trailing by 6 points, Luka gets past Jimmy initially, and look at Dre use his length to swipe down and get the steal. How many times this season have we seen Draymond Green make clutch defensive plays? I've lost count, to be honest, and we've seen this over a course of a career, and it's time for all of you voters to do the right thing. You know what you need to do. He's already told you on national TV, and he then delivered in back-to-back national TV games in the Warriors' 2 most important games of the season. Give this man his DPOY. It is a crime that he has only received 1 in his career, and whilst this should be his 3rd or 4th, you can make amends by giving him his 2nd, and that would be closer to representative of his career, with him still impacting the game in ways that almost no one in NBA history has been able to do. And speaking of impacting the game in historic ways, where do I even begin? 89 points in the last 2 games, entering the 2 biggest games of the season, back-to-back games on the road against 2 of the best teams in the Western Conference. Who was the best player on the court both times? Stephen Curry. 52 points, then 37 points. And this was a game from Steph in which he wasn't on fire from the first quarter like against Memphis. It was a combination of Brandon Bajemski and great defense that helped the Dubs take a lead, but when they struggled offensively in the 3rd and 4th quarter, Steph Curry was there like he always is when it matters most, going off for 25 points in the second half, including making this huge shot.
Green sets a screen. Curry 3.
But I want to take you guys back in time for a second. Just over 2 weeks ago, after the Warriors' loss against Denver, Steve Kerr came out and said that Steph Curry needed a rest. He had been playing high minutes and high leverage minutes for an extended period of time, and it had caused him to be seriously fatigued. Why am I mentioning this? Because this is what Jimmy Butler said when asked about that fatigue.
That's on myself and that's on us as a unit to pick up the slack for him.
In the following games, we saw Jimmy take it upon himself to be more aggressive, to be more assertive, and to allow Steph to have some quieter games like he did against the Spurs or the Raptors, where he only had to take 10 or 8 shots and the Warriors were still able to win on the back of Jimmy shouldering the load as both a scorer and a playmaker. Now, I'm mentioning this for a reason, because it's the rest he's gotten in the games like against Toronto or San Antonio that has allowed him to turn into the best version of himself in games against LA and Memphis, where you saw him look like an MVP level player, which is still there, but not every single night. And it goes both ways, because in this game, you saw Jimmy was quiet offensively, but had a huge impact defensively, and we know there will be games where Jimmy is the leading guy for the Dubs offensively. This is what makes this team and that duo so special. And if you want to hear me continue to talk about that, dropping a like on the video would be cool, subscribing to the channel would be nice. Most importantly, have a great day. Bye.